Okay, welcome again to our discussion on limit continuity derivative. So, what we have discussed till now, the continuity of a function in a very intuitive way, and we will go for a more mathematical precise definition of the continuity with the help of a terminology called limit. As I told in the last class, that a function value of f of x at C and near C, they may be quite independent, right. Function value at C, that is f of C, and function value near C, I mean when x approaches C, the function value may be nearing or approaching to a value say L, and this L and f of C may be quite independent of each other, right. And if we have this L becomes equal to f of C, then we say the function is continuous, and this nearing value is written as the limit, and we write it as limit x tends to C f of x is equal to L. Here this implies when x tends to C, x is our independent variable. When this independent variable tends to a value C, the function value approaches or tends to a value L, okay. And we call L is the limiting value of f x when x approaches C, okay. And mathematically we write this, and many things may happen. There are many possibilities. I mean there may not be any nearing value of f x. When x is approaching C, f x may not be approaching any value. In that case we will say limit is not existing, okay. Then the second thing, there may be a existence of limit. I mean when x is approaching C, the function value may be approaching L, a limiting value, and this limiting value may not be equal to the function value at C. This is second probability. Then third probability is this limiting value L may be equal to f of C. Only when L becomes equal to f of C, we say the function is continuous. That means when x is varying through a very small value, f x value from f of C is changing through a very small value, then there is no break in the curve and it is a continuous function. So, this is another way of defining continuity of a function, and this method is called limiting value of a function, right. And we say that limit of a function exists. I mean, what is the meaning of this is that mod of f of x minus L is less than an arbitrary positive number epsilon when x lies between C minus delta to C plus delta, okay. That means your mod of, there exists a small positive number, so that mod of x minus C less than delta. So, if this implies this and they double imply, then we say that limit of the function exists at x is equal to C. Then it is another point whether this limiting value is equal to the function value at C or not, okay. But this limit to exist, this is the condition to be satisfied, and we may approach C from either side, from up, from down. I mean, suppose this is f of x, this is x, and this is a point C, this is a curve C. So, we can approach the C from this side, this is called your right hand approach, and we can approach C from left side. So, that from C minus delta or from C plus delta, delta may be approaching to 0 from either side. And if from the left hand side we approach the function x value, I mean independent variable is approaching from the left hand side and function value is approaching to a value L, and again from the right hand approach the function value is approaching the same value L, then we say the left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, and in that case only limit exists. So, limit is independent of the way we are approaching our independent variable x to a particular point C. Whatever may be the path of approach, the limiting value must be unique. Only then we will say that the limiting value of the function exists, otherwise it is not. Okay. And if it exists and again the function value at C is equal to the limiting value, then the function is continuous. For example, in the last class we have discussed a graph, a function that f of x is equal to x when x less than half, is equal to 1 when x is equal to half, is equal to 1 minus x when x greater than half. The graph of the function is like this: x f of x, okay, this is half and the point here is half and 1. Okay. So, you can see when you approach the x to half from the left hand side, the function value approaches half, right. Again when you approach from the right hand side to half, the function value also approaches 1 minus half to half, but they are not equal to the function value at half, because the function value at half is 1. So, f of half is equal to 1, which is not equal to the limiting value which is half. So, this function is not continuous at this point. Hence, now we can define in a very precise way the conditions required for a function to be continuous like this. A function f of x is continuous at x is equal to c if first point the function value at c is defined. The function value at c must be defined. Second point, the limiting value, limit extends to c, f of x exists. Then the third condition is this is equal to say L, then L is equal to c, that is the limiting value of f x at extends to as limit extends to c is equal to the function value at c. So, if these three conditions are satisfied, then we say the function is continuous at a point c. This is the more precise mathematical way of defining the continuity of a function. Okay. Suppose let us take an example, y is equal to f of x is equal to x square minus 1 by x minus 1, and we want to check the continuity at x is equal to 1. First let us see the limiting value of this function. You see this function at x is equal to minus 1 is not defined, right. So, the function value does not exist at x is equal to 1, because at x is equal to 1 it is 0 by 0 indeterminate, it has no meaning. So, the function value does not exist at x is equal to 1. But what is the limiting value at x is equal to 1? When we say limit x tends to 1, that means have a perception about the limiting value literally, that when I say x tends to 1 means x is not equal to 1, but x can approach a value as close as possible to 1. Okay. So, you can come from the offside, it may be coming from 1.5 to 1.4 to 1.3 to 1.2 to 1.1 to 1.001 to 1.00001 to 1, or from the left side you can go from 0.8 to 0.9 to 0.9999 and again up to 1, but it is never equal to 1. So, we can approach it in both sides, it is as close as possible to 1, but not equal to 1. This is what x tends to 1. So, when x tends to 1, obviously as x is not equal to 1, x minus 1 is not 0, right. So, in that case your limit x tends to 1, here f of x is equal to limit x tends to 1 x square minus 1 by x minus 1, we can write it as limit x tends to 1, it is as x minus 1 into x plus 1 by x minus 1, right. In this situation I can cancel x minus 1 with x minus 1. Why? Because this under this condition, when limit x tends to 1, x is not equal to 1, but as close as possible to 1, therefore, x minus 1 is not 0, x minus 1 is not 0. So, we can cancel these two non-zero terms, right. But when we say at x is equal to 1, this is a 0 term, this is a 0 term, we cannot cancel each other and the function is not defined. So, this is equal to as x tends to 1, x plus 1 tends to 2. Okay. So, the limit value exists and it is equal to 2. You can see in the function, if you put x is equal to say 1.1, x square is 1.21 and minus 1 is 0.21 by x minus 1 is 0.1, it is 2.1. If you take x as 1.01, then similarly it is always greater than 2, right, but it is very close to 2. When you approach x from the offside, I mean when x is greater than 1, x is greater than 1, y is greater than 2. So, when you approach it from offside, as you come very close to 1, y is approaching a value 2. When you approach it from the left hand side, I mean from the lower side, that is say x is equal to 0.9, then its square is 0.81. So, x square minus 1 is 1 minus, I mean 0.81 minus 1, it is 0.19 minus 0.19 by x minus 1 is 0.9 minus 1 is 0.1. So, it is equal to minus 0.1 is equal to 1.9. So, again you can see it is always less than 2, but it is going up approaching 2. If you take it as 0.95, it will be closer to 2. So, from the lower side, I mean from the left hand side or from right hand side, either x approaching 1 plus or 1 minus, then the value of f of x is always approaching the value 2, it is a unique value. So, the limit of the function exists, but the function value at x is equal to c is not defined, x is equal to 1 is not defined. So, the function is not continuous at x is equal to 1, but limit exists. So, this is a nice example where we can understand what is the limit and continuity and how you can define it in a more mathematical way. Okay. So, till now we have made a discussion about the function and how to visualize the function through a graph, then what is the continuity of a function and how this continuity is defined in a intuitive way and also in a very precise mathematical way. Then we have introduced the concept of limit. Then we will go to another very important concept, that is differentiation or derivative, which has quite significant applications in physics. Okay. From physics point of view, let us first define what is velocity. In mechanics, you all know in your class 12 level, class 10 at the school level, that what is velocity? It is the rate of change of displacement. This rate of change means what? Change of dependent variable divided by change of independent variable. When a body is moving, its displacement is a function of time, right? As time goes on, its displacement is changing. Okay. So, here time is independent variable, displacement is dependent variable, right? And the rate of change means change per unit time, and we say if the time is changing through delta t, displacement is changing through delta s, and this rate of change is delta s by delta t. Okay. This is called rate of change, but this rate of change, the way we calculate, is the average rate of change, right. Suppose a body is moving and its displacement is varying with time, and we want to say its velocity from 2 second to 4 second, then the time interval is here 4 second minus 2 second is equal to 2 second. Okay. So, in this 2 second, what is the displacement? That displacement delta s by 2 gives you the average velocity of the body from 2 second to 4 second. But if we want to know what is the velocity of the body at a particular instant of time, say exactly at 2 second, what should be the velocity of the body? In that case, what should we do? In that case, we have to reduce this time interval, right, to as close as possible to 0, right, and this delta t approaching to 0, we have already discussed. The mathematical language is here limit delta t tends to 0, and under this condition, this rate of change when calculated, if this limit value is a finite value and it exists, we call this value is the instantaneous velocity of the body. Okay. And this process of limiting calculation is called derivative or differentiation or differential coefficient of s with respect to t. Therefore, in general, if y is a function of x, and here x is the independent variable and y is the dependent variable, and x, the value of x changes from c to c plus h, the h is the change. So, that the corresponding function value changes from f of c to f of c plus h. Then the rate of change is f of c plus h minus f of c. This is the change of dependent variable, and divided by the change of independent variable is c plus h minus c, that is h. This is the average rate of change, and if we want to find the instantaneous rate of change, we will take this limit h tends to 0, and if this value exists, then this is called the instantaneous rate of change of f of x at c, or the derivative of f of x at c. We write it as the symbol f dash of c. We call it derivative of f of x at c. Okay. So, our y is equal to f of x. We also write in another format this f dash of c as dy by dx, dy by dx at x is equal to c. or in general the derivative of a function dy by dx, we can write it as f of x plus h minus f of x by h, where h is very small and as small as possible, that is taken as limit h tends to 0. This is called derivative or differential coefficients of f x. So, this derivative or differential concepts comes in different physical and mathematical situations. In mathematics, when we want to find the tangent to a curve, suppose this is a curve, right, y versus x. We want to find a tangent over here. If we take this interval x, from this x to this is x plus h, then this is f of x, then this is f of x plus h. So, this is f of x plus h minus f of x, and this is x plus h minus x is h, and this tan theta slope is your f of x plus h minus f of x by h. This is the slope. But if you want to find the slope of the tangent here, tangent means a straight line touching the curve at a single point. Okay. So, here it is the tangent. To approach this tangent, we have to reduce this h interval, so that you can see this delta f or f of x plus h minus f is like this. So, when you tend h to 0, I mean you reduce this interval to as minimum as possible, that is tending to 0, then you see it is almost the slope of the tangent at point P. The same thing in case of your instantaneous velocity. Suppose the displacement, the body is moving like this. At any instant t, the position vector of the particle is r of t here. Position vector is the vector starting from the origin of the coordinate system to the point, right. And when the particle is at this point, then this is r of t plus delta t. Here delta stands for a change in time. Okay. And what is the change in displacement? This vector is the change in displacement, delta r, that is equal to r of t plus delta t minus r of t. And you want to find the velocity, this is r of t plus delta t minus r of t by delta t. But this is the average velocity between t and t plus delta t. So, if you want to find the instantaneous velocity at this point, we have to reduce this time interval delta t tends to 0, so that the delta r approaches like this, and the velocity at this instant is nothing but along the tangent to this path. Okay. So, this is the reason of devising this new mathematical tool, derivative or differential coefficient, to find out different physical and mathematical calculations. Okay. We will discuss more about this derivative and differential coefficients in the next class, and how it is applied to different branches of physics, okay, and how it leads to your differential equations and other important concepts which have immense applications in physics. Okay. Thank you then.